right, guys, welcome back to Sub-Zero Reset Day 2 here on the Hacker Stage. Today's focus will be on building decentralized applications, and what better way than to learn from those who already successfully built, deployed, and even got funding for their efforts. Today, the Hacker Stage will be hosting giants such as Energy Web, Polkadot API, and Pop Network, among others. But we'll also have some very special workshops that you simply cannot miss. But enough talk from me. Let's dive right into it with the Polkadot API. Today with us we have Thibaut Sardon, who is an ex-employee from Parity. He's now working for ChainSafe. He's been active in the ecosystem for the past 6 years and has been building and maintaining projects such as the Polkadot.js extension, Polkassembly, and the Polkadot Vault. Thibaut, sir, take it away.
Thank you so much. Hello. Thank you for being here. So yeah, today I will talk about the migration to PAPI, because as a user of PAPI, I've been doing this myself, and I will, walk you through my journey and what I learned, and hopefully get you a head start if you too want to move to PAPI, as you probably should. Just a few words about ChainSafe first, because this is the company that I'm working for, and we're involved actually in the Polkadot ecosystem for many years with many things. First thing is Gossamer. We have people in the audience here actually from the team from Gossamer. If you want to talk about it, we can after. Gossamer is the Go implementation of the Polkadot host. These guys are also involved in the Jam Go implementation. For myself, I worked on Multics in the past, which is an interface to manage multisigs, and this is the Dapp that I've moved to PAPI very recently. I've also built, together with other co-hackers, a Dapp called Delegate, just for a delegation. It just does this supposedly well, but ChainSafe is doing a lot more. It's doing a lot of things regarding to Ethereum, such as an Ethereum client, Filecoin, doing chain abstraction SDK for Ethereum. It's an amazing company. If you're interested in joining ChainSafe to do anything, please reach out. But let's talk about PAPI today. So just to be super clear, I am not a PAPI core team or anything. I'm just a user. We have the core team here, actually. They are amazing. And yeah, I just want to bring this presentation for anyone who has built a Dapp before or just used Polkadot.js API maybe. And yeah, as I said before, this is not the future, and PAPI is the future. So PAPI is the replacement of the Polkadot.js API. It's as simple as this, and that's why I want you to, learn a bit about it and just come with me on this journey. So first of all, PAPI is fully typed, and I will show you what a breeze it is to use, just thanks to this full typing, right? It's extremely light, unlike Polkadot.js API, which has like millions of dependencies. It's like client first. I will not talk much about it, but it's for decentralization. It's future-proof. As I said before, Polkadot.js API is currently maintained. It will not be maintained forever, though, as it has just a lot of legacy, a lot of technical debt, and that's also one of the reasons why you should probably consider moving to PAPI, because then, it's future-proof. And as I mentioned before, the team is kicking asses. It's really, really good. It's really well supported. They are super nice. Every time you have problems, they are here to help. Issues, discussions is the best way, I think, to reach out to them. All right, let's stop talking. Let's dive in. So first of all, I will not go too much into details how to install PAPI and get started with PAPI, because this is something the documentation is really good about. The documentation is at papi.how, which is also a super funny and cool URL, easy to remember. Papi.how is the documentation. It will tell you how to get started, so to generate the types for your chain, to install, obviously, the PAPI, and then create the client and API. So this is not really different from Polkadot API, how to do it. It looks a bit like this. You have a client, you give it an RPC, and then you get the API. This .api thing is what you will use then, and that's what's fully typed. And this looks like this in an editor. When you, let me have, this is always a bit clunky. Let me put this full screen, and yeah. So this is what I said. When it's fully typed, it's a really breeze to use. Like when you use this .api variable, it's fully typed. So say you want to do a TX, I'm on dot, so actually it's not dot, but anyway, it's a balances transfer or force transfer or whatever, transfer keep alive, and this is where, it shows you, man, that's always the same with these videos. I have a bunch of these, I hope I'll do it better. It shows you, I swear I'll manage. Shows you the type that it expects for the parameters, etc. And you don't have to. It's not really junky. You don't have to go out of your editor, etc. It's like it's there, and then when you keep going, it will just help you, with autocomplete from your editor. Like nothing crazy. So here, for instance, I'm doing a balance transfer keep alive. So you could do a send a value such as a big int, this is a big int that is expected, and big int is pretty cool because, it's a native JavaScript thing. So actually you can just type 0n, that's the next slide, this thing. Like, there's no more bngs, like you're probably used to with Polkadot.js, importing a big number library. This is now, we're talking about big int with PAPI, so you can use stuff like, the star to multiply, the plus to add, etc. It's really easy to use, and it's much easier to read. So that's one of the things. I will now just list a lot of things that I learned using PAPI or that you will encounter if you use PAPI, and which are, in general, just great. All right, you can have many APIs. So I just showed you before .api, right? But we're building with parachains, or say you're building with the relay chain, you want to connect to the people chain, right? To have, for instance, the identity. So you can have many APIs to just, this is in one app. You can have like several fully typed API. The first one will be for dot, the second one will be for the people chain from dot, for instance, and these will be fully typed, meaning that the dot API, for instance, will not have any identity palette. But the people API has, and you will see this right away in your editor. And this is, when you use, for instance, React or whatever, you would have this dot API and this people API just, set once and just then shared with your app, and then you will just use whatever variable you need to interact with the chain. So I don't know if you paid attention to what I just showed before, but when you create the client, there's this with Polkadot SDK compact. So this is something super important. To be fair, I don't really fully understand what it does. I just know that there are different obviously parachains that follow more or less the top of the latest branch of the Polkadot SDK. Some of them are quite behind, and because of this, PAPI has to do a bunch of stuff to basically keep up with. Yeah, maybe I should just let them talk about this anyway. But anyway, just use this SDK compact because it's important. Otherwise, you may have some weird errors that you don't understand, and it's because of this. This is in the documentation. Just have to follow it. It's just think about it. I did forget it a couple times, and yeah, again, brings you weird errors. A new thing that you will encounter eventually, it's this compatibility token. So there are some things that you do with Polkadot.js API that are synchronous, such as, for instance, constants, or if you want to encode some calls. You have a transaction, you want the encoded version. Now the thing is, when you have a chain, as we can have runtime upgrades, right? So eventually, one block you have something, you have a set of palettes, and the next block you have different palettes, right? So what PAPI does is that it will check when you want this constant. For instance, it will ask the runtime or the blockchain and say, hey, what is the latest state or the latest value of this constant? And the thing is, well, it's asynchronous. So you can have it synchronous if you want. So this is, for instance, let's ask for the constants for the SS58 prefix. This is asynchronous, but you can have it synchronous if when you launch your app, for instance, you generate this compatibility token. So you wait once, basically at the launch of your app, and then when you ask for this constant or you do encoding, for instance, you pass this compatibility token, and this new call, which is the same as the one before, is now synchronous. So you get directly, the result. But obviously, if there's a runtime upgrade, that happens while your app is launched and while you already created the compatibility token, it will not be updated. But to be fair, this is just like, you have to know what you want to achieve, basically, and you have to know about this problem. If you have an app that is supposed to run like forever, you probably want to await every time. But if you have an app that is supposed to, be launched for a minute or two, probably it's okay to have, once the compatibility token awaited for, and then you use it. Decoded call. So that's just an example, it's one of the cool things that you can use. You can basically have a transaction, and so that's the same as we had before, more or less. And if you console log this decoded call, it will basically be a bit the same as what we had before with toHuman method for Polkadot JS API, and it will look like this. Yeah, it's just, one thing that, did you guys change actually the way to log the big numbers? I did a test really recently, and I had to have a specific print. You know what I'm talking about? Did you change anything so that now it's printed nicely right away? Okay, then I should add that when you do this, sometimes it may fail if you're running this in the console, like not the console log like this in the browser, but in a node. You did change, okay. Okay. Yeah, well, I will not talk about it anyway. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You get some nice decoded stuff, and that's the equivalent of toHuman. All right. One thing that is kind of different as well, a bit like the compatibility token. It's some new things that come with PAPI. It's not crazy hard, but if you heard it once, maybe you'll understand a bit better when you come and see this. So whenever you do anything like a query or transaction with Polkadot API, if you're querying the balance of an account, like I'm doing right now, like this is using the hydration API, for instance, query balance account get value, and like here you're supposed to pass obviously an address or something, and if you query the balance, you will have the balance at the latest block. With PAPI per default, you have the balance at the latest finalized block. So you do have these options which come after here, which is the at. So the at finalized is the default one. And if you want the value at the latest block, you should have at best, which is what we do here in this balance transfer keep alive. We have the at best, meaning that it will take the latest block to fetch the nonce, for instance. Or here, you would have the at best to have the latest balances for this account. So it's, again, safe to be with the finalized, but for my applications, for instance, for Multics or for the delegation dashboard, I was used to show the latest balance of the latest block, so that when you do balance transfer, after 6 seconds, boom, you see the new balance, right? And this is why I have for my apps, have at best all the time, and you have to add it obviously, otherwise it's per default it's finalized. So again, it depends on what's the use case of your Dapp is. If you're building a DEX or something, maybe you want to finalize because you don't want anything to be reverted. If you're building something that is less, critical to these kind of problems, then probably you are good to use at best, and yeah, you have to set it. There are new types that come into play that you will just encounter. For instance, I've been showing you before the balances transfer. On Polkadot, the balances transfer, actually, the destination is not a string, it's a multi-address. And what the type, expected type is. And so when you see these things, such as binary or multi-address, you could be like, okay, I don't know how to generate this, I don't know how to create this. With PAPI, it's actually super simple. You just import the multi-address, it's exported in PAPI, and then you use whatever constructor. So here, multi-address ID, and then some address. For the binary, it's the same. It's like binary, and then you can do from text or from hex, or anyway, it's just something, As I've been building dApps, I was noting, I knew I would talk about this. So these things, were a surprise to me. Like literally the first day I used PAPI, and then the next day I just knew how it worked, right? So it's been now 3 months, and this is absolutely not a problem at all. It's just that it's good to know and to hear it once. All right, another thing is the signers had to be a bit different. So the Polkadot API is bringing home the good old Polkadot extension Dapp that you were using to get the accounts from an extension. So basically, probably your Dapp will ask, accounts from an extension, and this has to be fetched differently, or fetched simply, but it's a different type of signer that you will use, so you will not be able to use Polkadot extension Dapp anymore. You will have to use the signer from PAPI. And yeah, it's just good to know, like the old signer just needs to be removed, and that's it. There are tools for this, I will show you in a minute. All right, so some cool tools. So I've been talking about the differences basically with PAPI now. I will tell you what you get, like the perks. So just what I talked about, the new signer, for instance, that needs to be added and forget about the Dapp extension from Polkadot. So there's an application called .connect that is built by Tien, who's an amazing person, and he built I think a good-looking, the equivalent of, I forgot in Ethereum, it's like, I forgot the wallet, sorry? I didn't hear that. The WAGMI library, exactly. So basically it's a library to help you just do things that every Dapp in the world probably has to do, which is connect to extensions. And basically this is a super nice model to connect to your extension. It supports Wallet Connect, and in the future they probably want to support as well, Ledger or whatever, but these guys like Talisman and Polkadot.js extension already support these, ledgers and Polkadot Vault. So basically you can just use this library and have a connection that works with PAPI directly, and you don't have to rebuild this yourself. And honestly, it's amazing. Yet again, an amazing person that, when you have a problem, an issue or whatever, they answer and fix your problem in less than a day. It's pretty cool. It happened less than a week ago again that he did this to me. All right, another thing that, Joseph, you may have seen on Twitter was Shilling. It's like, the stuff that you can achieve with PAPI, and this is the PAPI team who built this. Again, this is some teaser that he posted on Twitter a couple of weeks ago. They have a talk right after, I think at 12 something, and they will show developer tools that they built with PAPI, and they told me it will blow our minds, so let me continue there. All right, Chopsticks. Well, I just wanted to mention that they have been doing some PRs, so just to make it work. So, Chopsticks just works with PAPI, that's it. It's just, amazing. I have been building a Cypress Polkadot plugin, which is basically a plugin that pretends or that injects in end-to-end tests real signer so that you can do tests with real transactions. And this is the same, it's done, we ported it to PAPI, so here is a view of what you could see. This is Multics. That is basically, it's a test that runs in a real browser that is headless and actually creates a real multisig, right? So it could be done with Chopsticks or directly on the blockchain. I use Paseo, and yeah, it just works with PAPI, and this has been ported basically, so that, yeah, that's really cool. All right, another one, which is called Paraspell, also just migrated to PAPI last week, I think. So basically, you can do effortlessly XCM transfers. I did not use it yet, but just after me asking a couple weeks after, they told me, okay, we are done now migrating. So again, PAPI basically has, gives you just a lot of perks and just works with whatever you used to eventually. Okay, last tip, unless you, know exactly what you want to do, you may want to look at some code that has been written with PAPI. So if you go, this is PAPI how, the documentation, and if you go on the bottom left, there are already a bunch of repos there. One of them is, some of them are mine. Multics will be in there at some point, but there are Teleport, Keops has done Keops swap as well. Like there are a bunch of repo and code that you can look at. So just to get, a feeling for what people have built with PAPI, or just look at their code to just, learn stuff. All right. The best way to make PAPI better is to actually use it and give feedback, right? So don't wait. It's amazing. Just go for it and check if you want to, migrate your Dapp. Check if everything looks okay, or if you have questions or things are not working. Just say it, open an issue, and this is how we will make PAPI better for everyone. Thank you so much. If you want to find me anywhere, use Thibaut, on Twitter or anywhere.
All right, thank you, Thibaut. We would maybe have time for one question from the audience, if there is any. None? Well, in that case, Thibaut, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And in a little bit less than 10 minutes, we will have our next speaker, who is going to be about using the POP CLI to create Inc. smart contracts. So make sure to stick around.